there will be highs and there will be lows. The only consistency to some extent is the inconsistency.
Mm.
I really recommend try not to take yourself too seriously. Try to keep the perspective that as far as we know, we're on the planet once, and try to do it as well as possible. And when you stumble, because you will, when you take it on the chin, you will. Just remember Abe Lincoln ran for president 7 times.
Love. Welcome to the Wellness Growth Code podcast. I'm your host, Justine, and this is where we talk to leaders in the health and wellness space about what's actually driving growth right now, from visibility to smarter systems to AI. No fluff, just real insights you can take and use in your own business. So let's dive into it. Today's conversation is going to be a good one. We've been trying to make this happen for a while, and I know it's going to be worth the wait. I'm joined by Jennifer Special. Is that how you pronounce your last name?
Sure.
Wonderful. Oh, no. You tell me how to pronounce. How is it? How do you
In
pronounce?
America, it's just special, and then in Italy, it's speciale. So
Oh,
speciale is always somewhere in the middle.
okay. I don't think I would have got that, but speciale with the
Yeah.
Jennifer is an executive leadership coach who works with high performing leaders. After more than 20 years in executive recruiting and leadership advisory roles with companies like Amazon, McKinsey and Company, Google and Indeed, Jennifer now helps senior leaders reposition themselves for the next move. Jennifer, thank you so much for being on the show. I'm really excited about our conversation.
Me too. Thank you so much for having me.
Yes, tell me about like going from your full-time to career to what you do today. Could you give us a bit about the background journey?
Yeah. So, like you said, I was in executive recruiting for probably more than 2 decades, and I was always working for some kind of organization that needed some kind of talent that they didn't have some strange skill set strange to them. And so skills translation was something that was innate, and I had spent a lot of time being very comfortable and familiar with. So it wasn't until I was at Amazon where I thought that everybody would understand everybody. I was on this executive design, executive leadership recruiting team appointed by Jeff Bezos. And the first few weeks of training, you have to silently observe other recruiting processes, which, full transparency, I was dreading because I'm like, I'm very old. I do not want to watch other recruiters recruit. But what I realized was I saw really brilliant Amazon design interviewers interview really brilliant design, Amazon quality candidates just completely miss each other. And in the debrief, where I was not allowed to have my camera on or give any comments of any kind, the interviewers would criticize these or critique these really brilliant candidates. And, from the silence of my own Zoom camera, I'd be saying, no, of course they understand the design process. How can you say that? And so I realized, okay, once again, as soon as I could get my hands on my own candidates, I will coach them on how to present, how Amazon needs to hear from them. And sure enough, I started hiring my candidates, and every one of them would say, I never would have gotten this role without you coaching me. And I was thinking, with all of your Ivy education, patents, degrees, whatever, like, of course you would have. And they would say, no, seriously, I never would have gotten this job without you coaching me. And so it just got me thinking, because Amazon's such a big place. I worked with amazing, brilliant people, but it's not always that entrepreneurial. It's very big. You have to have 1.4 million employees following process, which is not willy-nilly. There's not a lot of room for willy-nilly. So at a certain point, I decided to go on my own, and had no idea what I would do, but did not want to do recruiting another day, at least for a while. And I thought maybe there's a way I can just do the best part of my job as my only job. And I thought that I invented the role of coaching. I didn't know that there were millions of coaches for everything. And just started with the people that had been candidates, and slowly built an international practice. And now I really believe I'm doing the work I was always meant to do.
How long ago was that when you started it?
I guess it's been almost 4 years, which
Wow.
doesn't seem like very long, but I feel like it was always there. It's just in its most refined format. It's in the format it always should have been.
Yeah. And you talk about those employees, like where were they missing the mark when they weren't getting the job, even though they were qualified?
Oh, that's such a good question. There's a very prescribed way that you need to speak about your experience, particularly at a certain level. When
Mm.
you're still an IC or even not a very senior level leader, your artifacts, the things that mark your success are very evident. It's very easy to say, I accomplished this, I implemented this process, I led this implementation. As you get higher up in your leadership, those artifacts become less and less visible. They're all the behind the scenes things that you're doing, like coaching somebody who's not doing well, or herding cats, aka getting the stakeholders to agree on something, or trying to understand how the budgeting is going and making people understand your point of view. All of those things are silent. And how do you broadcast your progress and your success? How do you justify your existence? And so when you're interviewing, how you describe your experience, there has to be a healthy dose of I, not always we. But a lot of times leaders get to a certain point and they're very cognizant of the fact that they never would have accomplished those things without the team. So, how do you take credit without sounding arrogant, but still kind of unraveling all of your success so your listener understands what you can actually do and where you'll create impact?
That's really interesting. I've seen a lot of people as well lately, like that have been entrepreneurs and they're actually going, maybe I need a full-time job. So going from the different role reversals, but if you've been running your own business for 10 to 15 years, how do you get back into the workforce? Like, because is it applying on the LinkedIn jobs you see? Or what would be your advice if someone's like, you know what, I just want some stability? I think it's because the world is a crazy place right now and they're looking
Yeah.
for benefits and yeah, more stability. It's just that time in their life. What would you advise?
So for me, it's a hard no on anything to do with LinkedIn except have a very amazing, well developed LinkedIn profile. I think applying to anything online, whether it's on a company's job site, or applying on LinkedIn, I don't think online applications are a good way to invest your time at all. I think it's a black hole. All of the research shows that very often when roles are posted, it's just to meet labor laws, minimum posting requirements. Sometimes it is to pull in evergreen, try to pull the labor market and see who's out there. But more times than not, there is a genuine open role, but there's so many applicants because that is everybody's strategy that there's no way to really differentiate yourself in a black hole. I've had clients come to me and they say they paid thousands of dollars for their CV to be written for the algorithms. I've never heard of anybody having a return on investment for that. Um, it really comes down to making conversations. You have to make your own opportunities and design your role. And it's really the best way. I talk about it like it is old fashioned, but because it's old fashioned, it's actually avant garde now.
Hmm. So you can't outsource it to AI?
Unfortunately, no. I certainly have had a lot of clients who have tried to do that. And it's just, I think it just creates more frustration and a greater sense of loneliness
Mm.
and really just feeling irrelevant because you feel like you get that social media thing where you see on LinkedIn, everybody else loves their job. Why don't I have a job
Yeah,
or why don't I love my job? Why
yeah,
can't I get promoted and everybody else is?
yeah.
So the only way to really get the job is to work at it. In the old days, you'd go door to door to different companies and leave your CV at the front desk. Now they're probably the door is locked, there's nobody at the front desk, or there is no, there is no business establishment because everybody's at home. And then it was like apply online, cold call, all of those things. Then it was, online applying used to work, but already that's outdated. So it's really back to basics and try to get in front of the people that you want to talk to.
And we mentioned briefly AI. Are you integrating AI into your business at the moment?
Yes.
How
I
so?
actually couldn't live without it. I feel like it's such a beneficial tool to keep track of each session for my clients.
Mm.
As long as there's no confidentiality issue, and sometimes we won't record for those reasons, but generally speaking, for my clients, I record the transcripts. They use it to review themselves and continue to deepen their learning. I use it so that I keep track of our own milestones for each session, and sometimes remember very complicated org structure, complicated interview processes, that kind of thing. It's really useful.
Yeah, I do like those notes that I do tend to revisit those after sessions. Like, yeah, I'm very grateful that they produce notes like that. So,
Yes.
you're working with a lot of high performing professionals, I guess, people trying to move up. Where do you see them constantly stuck right now?
I think the most recurrent pattern is executive storytelling. You get to a point in your career and somebody asks you a question, you have so many stories you could draw on. Which one do you choose?
Mhm.
And how do you choose it? Why do you choose it? And then how do you describe it? And so I'm a huge fan of um, developing your bank of leadership stories and then organize them so that for any person, any interviewer, any informational conversation, anybody that has a question, you can draw on that structure and how you've organized it already.
Mm.
Pause, think it through, and then answer with the story that you want to in the right way that you want to be understood.
Yeah, it that reminds me of very much like social settings with like a partner when you're having meeting another parent and their husband, and you kind of have that bank of stories to entertain them. Like you know what's going to get the most out of that moment. Oh yeah, I'll rehash this story. But I love what you said,
Yeah.
like the bank of stories, because I feel it's not just in the workplace. It's kind of
Yes.
socially or on dating or whatever it is. It's good to yeah, it's good to have those.
Have
Um,
those at the ready. Have them
yeah.
organized.
And what are you seeing right now in terms of trends, especially when it comes to how people are growing their careers or positioning themselves?
Um, so most of my clients are either trying to make it to VP or they're beyond VP and they're trying to make it to C level. And the majority of my clients are really wanting to work somewhere where they like the people and
Mhm.
like the mission. I don't, and it could just be my sliver of the world, but I feel like gone are the days that everybody wants to work for Google or, one of the fangs. Um, Now people really just want to do good work with good people. They would really just like to like their team. It doesn't have to be mission driven, like, United Nations, something or other, but something that has something good about it that does better and contributes to society, at least on some level.
I love that. Um, in your 4 years of growth, like if you look back on where you were and where you've come from, what has been your biggest business lessons so far?
Yes, that's a good question because it's kind of on the continuum of the biggest lesson. I think the biggest lesson is that there will be highs and there will be lows.
Mm.
The only consistency to some extent is the inconsistency. You might have a number of consistent months, but you will have a number of inconsistent months. You have to kind of be ready for rolling with it a bit. I
Mm.
really recommend try not to take yourself too seriously. Try to keep the perspective that as far as we know, we're on the planet once and try to do it as well as possible. And when you stumble, because you will, when you take it on the chin, you will. Um, just remember Abe Lincoln ran for president 7 times.
Mm, I love that. Yeah, I didn't know that.
I always go back to that because you can imagine his wife was like, okay, so he lost the first time and second, third, fourth, fifth time. He's like, yeah, I'm going to run again. You can't imagine 6 times. She's like, I don't even want to hear it. But he won the seventh, and look what an impact he made on a really big country and a lot of people's lives. So you have to be committed to making your life what you want it. You have to live your best life by your definition. And that doesn't mean it's going to be a straight line. And
Mm.
accepting that and seeing it all for what it is, I think is really important.
I love that. I love asking that question because I get so much out of it myself. I feel like you're talking to me. Because, and I just love that never give up, never give in, never quit. I feel like that's been my ethos throughout my whole career. Just like, okay, one knock, I'm going to go around. And even as one of my roles as a publicist, if a media outlet says no, I'll go to another journalist, I'll be very resourceful. So, that was a nice reminder. Right now, if you had a magic wand that you could fix anything in your business right now, what would it be?
It would be how to scale faster without breaking things. I think some people want to scale and break things, and I think I probably used to have an appetite for that. I'm a little bit too much of a perfectionist for that, and I don't want to make a lot of mistakes. I would like to scale fast and not break too many things. Of course, I'll break some things along the way, but yeah, I really enjoy the ride of scaling because you actually start to feel a little bit of a not a slump, but like a you can breathe for a minute and then you
Mhm.
go back and you have to, more uphill, more uphill, more uphill, and then you can ride for a couple of minutes. So it is an interesting, a different part of the journey than that just slogging it out. But
Mm.
I think it's also attitude adjustment. You really have to love the game and and want what you're after and really know your mission.
Yeah, I love that. And then if you could go back to the beginning of your business journey when you were just starting, like what would be, is there anything you would have done differently in those first 12 months? Like hire a VA faster, or is there for someone that might be starting out going, yeah, what should I do?
I would say I was fortunate to find technology early in my process. I underestimated it and then I just got frustrated with the slowness. I was used to processes at McKinsey. There's frameworks and processes for everything. Amazon had tools, all this. And I missed that being on my own. And so I sought that pretty early on, things that can help you reach out to people, find people, people to help with things. Maybe if you don't hire them full time, but as contract support, don't be afraid to invest in your business.
Mm.
Be judicious about what you spend because you want it. If the focus is on the profit, but don't be afraid to invest in your business and do things that will help you enjoy the ride because the ride is hard.
I love that. I feel like anyone that gets coached by you is going to be very lucky. So, if
Thank you.
if people do want to find out about your coaching or your services, where is the best place to go?
So LinkedIn is always good. And then I have a website, www.jenniferspecial.com. And I also have Instagram, but I don't check DMs. I'm not very good at that. But LinkedIn and my website are great places to find me.
Wonderful. Well, I appreciate that we finally found some time to catch up. Really grateful for this conversation. I love
Me
hearing about
too.
the business learnings and the story. The story banks is so cool. I've got that in my head now. For like whatever, I think that applies anywhere in your life. So,
Yes,
um, yeah, thank you so much for joining us, and look forward to staying in touch.
definitely. Me too. Thank you so much.